This time I'd like to call to order the Monday, July 6th meeting of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners. At 4 p.m. we had a work session with the Fire Marshal and Chief Building Inspector discussing their proactive approach to commercial fire inspections. And at this time I'd like to have the invocation. We have Reverend Glenn McCraney, who is a retired Navy chaplain. If we'll all stand, then he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, you have commanded the light to shine out of the darkness. You call us again to praise your goodness and to ask us for the bestowing of your divine favor. We pray for your presence tonight upon your people and this meeting. As a people, we have anxieties and fears due to the economy, mass killings, threats of terrorists. We read of people slain by strangers, friends, and family members. We have strained our relationships with our beloved ones. We pray that you will bring us together as a nation, a state, a county, and individuals. Grant unto us a clarity, meaning, and purpose of life in the midst of these confusing and troubling times. May we never lose hope along the way. We pray tonight especially for our elected county leaders. Bind them together as they meet and deliberate to carry out the demanding duties to which they were elected. In these few moments, touch our hearts and the very depths of our spirits with your holiness, and that each of us will sense your holy presence, and all of us may be filled with the divine calming of our troubled souls. May our county leaders and your people always feel the awesome presence of the power of your Holy Spirit and be guided by your holy laws, which directs us to love you with our whole heart and our neighbors as ourselves. For it is your strength and love which sustains us in all these things. And all God's people say, Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Glenn. Next item is approval of agenda. I do need to add item C1, which will be a report from Tamron Kugler concerning the fireworks event, as well as the boat ramp that was closed for the fireworks.
Make a motion for approval.
Have a motion? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. New business, first item is resolution authorizing the exchange of county property with property owned by CASP, Inc. Mr. Woody, is that you?
Yes, sir. This is a resolution for the board's consideration tonight that allows the exchange of property between Currituck County and the developer of the Hidden Oak subdivision. You can see on your screen the exhibit, and what's occurring is as the board remembers, this property located on Currituck Highway just north of the Single Landing subdivision is a 35-acre tract of land for which a subdivision was approved that included 76 lots. The county owns an adjoining piece of property that's 25 acres in area and was created and dedicated to the county as part of the Single Landing subdivision. That 25-acre tract of land owned by the county is open space of the Single Landing subdivision, was provided to the county for use as a future park or recreation facility. During the public hearing, the county requested or required that the Arrowhead Lane, which is a street north of this subdivision that connects to Baxter Lane Drive, be extended southward and connect to Moyock Landing Drive. So what that means is essentially is there would be a road that would be built from Baxter Lane to Moyock Landing Drive, and eventually from Moyock Landing Drive, when the G's Group subdivision is completed, you'll be able to get all the way down to Single Landing Road. So what the county's doing is slowly building connectivity, north-south connectivity among these subdivisions. One thing that was required to make this happen was an exchange of property. And you can see on the map the long rectangular box is a right-of-way that's being created. That right-of-way is being created on the county's tract of land. That right-of-way is 1.43 acres. And then, of course, you see a square box just to the left of that. That is a tract of land that is currently in the Hidden Oaks subdivision, and that tract of land is being dedicated to the county. So essentially you have an exchange of property. The county's property that is being conveyed, again, is 1.43 acres. The developer is conveying 1.17 acres. Under state statute, it's not the acreage doesn't have to match. What has to be consistent is the value between the properties. That's kind of the rationale for the decision or the approval of this exchange. I'll let the attorney maybe.
The statute requires full and fair consideration, which can include things not only land area, but the value of the properties being exchanged, and also some other benefits. In this particular case, it is a benefit to the general public in allowing for interconnectivity between subdivisions in a north-south direction.
And so what's before you tonight, if the board chooses to approve it, this resolution, it would allow the exchange of this property as shown on this map. The deeds would be drawn up by the developer, and then they would be executed by the county staff. And essentially what you have here is an almost similar exchange of acreage, and then, of course, you have the benefit of having the north-south connectivity, and the county acquires a small piece of land, which will be on the west side of that right-of-way. I can answer any additional questions you have. We also covered this during the preliminary plat public hearing several weeks ago, and staff does support and recommend approval of this request.
County Manager, you support and recommend approval?
Yes, sir, I do, with one additional comments that one of the reasons that is driving this is the county is actually prohibited from building roads, so we don't have the legal authority to build the road on this property. So working with the developer, we're getting this interconnectivity established. But we certainly support the request.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions?
How is the piece of property we're getting, what is it zoned?
The piece of property the county is receiving is zoned conditional district single-family mainland. And the piece of property that the developer is receiving is zoned single-family mainland.
I guess to follow up to Mr. Hall's question is that won't prohibit us from doing anything that a county would need to do with their property, correct?
It will not. That just over an acre tract of land the county will receive will be open space, and of course we'll make sure the county has the ability to use that for any type of park or recreation service.
Okay.
And it is contiguous with other county property, right?
Well, it'll be across the street from the county property. So if the exhibit can be displayed again, when the exhibit comes up again on the screen, the square piece of land the county's receiving will be on the west side of the newly created right-of-way. The remaining 24 acres of county land will be on the east side of the right-of-way. So it's actually contiguous to the development, but again, it's on either side of the right-of-way, and just it is hard to know what will happen with it. But from a planning perspective, that just over an acre of land the county receives is a wooded tract. So I could see that actually becoming maybe an area where there's some picnic benches or something that's more of a passive activity. I think it's kind of a nice piece. It's small, but it's wooded, and it could coexist well with the county's property on the other side of the street.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, we need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the resolution presented.
Have a motion for approval. We have a second.
I'll second that motion.
I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, an ordinance of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners amending Section 1064 of Chapter 10 of the Currituck County Code of Ordinances to clarify that no more than 2 ATV permits may be issued for any one property, and that issuance must be retained throughout the term. Mr. McCree.
Insurance.
Okay. What did I say?
Issuance.
And that insurance must be retained throughout the term. Sorry. Thank you, sir.
Yes, this ordinance amendment as proposed is to clarify what I think really was the intent of this ordinance when first adopted. There was an intention, it appeared, that there would be no more than 2 ATV permits issued per property in the regulated area, but over time it's become, I guess, an accepted practice or belief that a husband and wife who actually, under North Carolina law, own property as one unit, were each coming in to receive 2 permits apiece, equating to 4 permits for that particular lot. We were starting to see LLCs, limited liability companies, coming in, and depending on how many member managers they had on their formation documents, they could get as many as 7, 8, 9, or 10 permits for a given lot. So this ordinance amendment will return us back to what it appears to be was the true intent at the very beginning, which is county residents and property owners may obtain at no fee a maximum of 2 annual permits per lot, tract, or parcel of property. The second issue is to make clear that they must also show proof and evidence of liability insurance. Before it just said proof of insurance. We're making clear that we mean liability insurance. And lastly, another issue that staff has began to see was that some of the liability insurance policies appeared to be lapsing prior to the end of the ATV permits term. So you see as a second or an additional language on beginning at line 28 on page 1, liability insurance coverage on the ATV will be maintained continuously throughout the term of the permit. So we believe with those clarifications, modifications to the ordinance, we'll be back on track with what the original intent of this ordinance was, and staff recommends its approval to you.
I think for clarification, before somebody sitting at home sees this, you need to make sure it's understood this is for permit for the Outer Banks.
That's correct. It's for the Outer Banks. That's correct.
Yeah. So before the phones start ringing.
So some of us know it as the beach driving ordinance,
Right.
but that's what it relates to. It does not relate to the mainland.
All right. Any questions of Mr. McCree? Hearing none, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion for approval.
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C is approval of contract with Air Concepts, Inc. We need a motion to allow Mr. Payne.
Make a motion to allow Mr. Payment to recuse himself due to being his company.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
Have a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You are recused, sir. I guess Mr. Scanlon or Mr. McCree.
I'm certainly can handle it. Y'all have been through this process a couple times before, but we have a contract, or the staff would like to enter into a contract with Air Concepts for the replacement of an air conditioning compressing unit that's at the Barco Library. The statute's required, being that we're doing business with a sitting commissioner, that it does need to come in front of this board for consideration. There is a dollar limit that we cannot exceed, and we are certainly underneath that limit, and I'll be happy to answer any specific questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions?
Mr. Scanlon, the contract amount is still under the sealant for an annual.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, we need a motion.
I make a motion that we approve this contract.
We have a motion for approval.
I'll second that.
A second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is item C1, Tamarin Kugler of the Tourism Department to give us an brief update on a couple of issues with the fireworks.
Fireworks. Okay, great. We had a great day on Friday. In spite of iffy weather, it came and went. We were constantly monitoring it. And it was interesting in that we would see storms coming towards us, and for some reason they would split and go around us. So we kept hoping and hoping that that would be the trend. So these are just a few pictures from the day. That's our tattoo booth. That was probably the most popular booth that we had. Once again, getting tattoos. Watermelon eating contest. That was quite popular and sticky. You can see one young lady valiantly eating her watermelon. Cornhole, the cornhole tournament was very, very popular. The bouncy house, of course. Children see the bouncy house and just about rip their parents' arms off trying to get over there. Two youngsters having a great time. We had some wonderful bands. This is Miss Caroline Dare. Caroline is a 14-year-old singer-songwriter from Greenville who has sung at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville, and we were lucky enough to have her there, and she really wowed the crowd. Our main band was U.S. Navy Fleet Forces, the 4-star edition, so we were lucky to get them from Norfolk. They were great, and actually were very complimentary to the staff, both from the Whalehead and from tourism, on how well taken care of they were. They were a great group of guys. As you can see, we had our picture taken with them. Michelle Ellis is always ready for a photo op. That Michelle is in the front. So as I was saying, we were carefully monitoring the weather situation. As it got closer, we kept seeing some storms start to develop. About 7:45, as we were looking at it, we thought, well, we think we can make it till 9. So we made a call from the stage that we would, at 7:45, that we would continue on with the celebration as scheduled, except in the event of a heavy downpour, lightning, or high winds. So everybody was happy with that. We did see some rain coming. We told the crowd we were expecting some intermittent rain, but we're going to do the best we could to have the fireworks. About 8:15, we saw a storm system that was coming upon us. One was leaving, one was coming. We had a very brief window of opportunity to set off the fireworks. We held off as long as we could because we wanted it to be dark, and we wanted to try to make it to 9. At 8:30, it just became very apparent that we had to go. The fireworks crew, needs about 10 minutes to uncover the fireworks, get everything set, and go. So at 8:30, we made the call. Fireworks went off about 8:40. It was a decision that had to be made. It was a split-second decision that had to be made. Interestingly enough, about 10 minutes after the fireworks were over, the heavens opened and the rain came down. So we were fortunate to be able to have the fireworks celebration. We also knew that Monday was also going to be an iffy day. There was rain scheduled for Monday. I think we made the best call that we could. It was a learning experience for me. It was my first July 4th celebration, so I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun, and there are things that I will do better next year. So I think we all had a great time. Any questions about July 4th? 3rd?
The only comment is that I think you made the right decision as well. Support you 100%. I sent you an email for those, as you well know. I mean, people on the other side of the sound sit and watch it and all. Just as a suggestion, I mean, I take these types of things as maybe how we could improve our process maybe.
Exactly.
Do we have a radio station that comes and attends that's there? I mean, I was trying to think, well, how could we use the media to help us in case of inclement weather to where people would know that particular station is there and they could tune to it. And if there was a threat of inclement weather and you had to make a split-second decision to where that could be put on the airwaves so people all over the county who were on the other side of the sound or whatever would know it and understand it. Just a thought.
I think that's a very good thought. As I said, I learned a lot on this one, and I hope to make improvements next year so that we don't have a situation where people on the other side of the sound or who are trying to look at it from the beach are surprised.
I know a lot of times at the radio stations, like the Peach Festival, 102.5 was there all day on Saturday. I mean, and had their van set up, and I was just wondering, do they come and I've not been to the fireworks show, shame on me. The people kind of keep me away, but neither here nor there in the traffic. But do they come and
we do have them at some of the events. That's something we could certainly take into consideration next year and see if they'd be willing to come. I think there's a lot of different avenues that we can explore to make sure that in the event that we do have to make a decision like that again, the public is better informed.
If I could make a comment, my family and I did go, and we were over there for the totality of the day. And first off, what did we have over there? Close to 6,000 people? 6,000?
We don't have a great count, but I believe it was somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 people.
5,000 people who are already on site. The way it worked out, it was almost like the weather broke long enough and we had the fireworks. And upon conclusion, everybody made it back to the car, and it was well received. And then, like Ms. Kugler said, the bottom fell out. And so as far as the timing went, it was impeccable. Maybe you could have another career as a weatherman, I don't know. But the break worked out well. I will say this, I want to commend the Sheriff's Department because there is one way in and out of Whalehead, and there's several parking lot, which you have alternate merging, which always makes it problematic to get out. And like I said, while I was sitting there in traffic waiting to get out, the Sheriff's Department, I counted at least 7 or 8 deputies who were in a monsoon. And a lot of them didn't even have the rain gear on. So, and they were undeterred. The traffic flowed. They did an excellent job, and I want to commend them for the work they did out in the rain, and they were all smiling. So I think it went well, and I was pleased and enjoyed being there. I think you did a good job.
Well, it's a joint effort between a lot of county departments, EMS, emergency management, the fire department, our fire marshal, our parks and recs. There's a lot of moving pieces in there, and each one of them were amazing. And I'm really, really appreciative of all the work and help that they gave.
Boat ramp.
Okay, let's talk about the boat ramp real quick. I know there are always questions about why the boat ramp is closed for the fireworks celebrations. And the North Carolina, I'm going to read some of this. The North Carolina Fire Prevention Code specifies the size of the hazardous or fallout area of a fireworks performance. In our case, this is 700 feet. And this is based on winds and all kinds of other elements. Nothing is to be in this area except for the state-certified personnel of the contractor. This area is enforced by the fireworks contractor, fire personnel, local law enforcement, and the Coast Guard. This area is to be secured not only during the performance, but at the time of setup and dismantling in the case of a misfire or other accident. The use of the water access in Corolla, which falls within the 700-foot regulation, has posed several delays and hazards in the past. The boat ramp is closed early as individuals that own boats are sometimes not available to move their vessel. If a boat is left unattended, the result could mean a delayed performance or a cancellation, as we have no legal authority to move a private vessel. In spite of this early closure on July 3rd, an unattended boat was at the ramp, and the Sheriff's Department had to track down the owner to have it removed. If we had not found the owner, it could have delayed the fireworks. The 700-foot rule is for safety and to prevent injuries and damage.
Well, I have to tell you, every year I get several phone calls or questions about the ramp being closed down because people from this side would like to go over in their boat and park over there, and so they get a little bit upset that they can't do it. So I would like for us to get that information out ahead of time in the media or the county websites and so forth going forward next year, so that people will know ahead of time. But I understand why. But a lot of folks, get perturbed that they can't go over to the Whalehead Club in their boat to see the fireworks. So if there could be some alternative area where they could park their boats or something if they want to go over there, that would be something we could think about, or whatever. So I appreciate you giving us that information.
All righty.
Just hearing your comment, and this is just a thought, and I may be opening Pandora's box. I hope not, but it's just a thought. Logistically, getting over to Whalehead for mainland Currituck is problematic on the 4th of July weekend, as it is every weekend. And while the fireworks are great, that's a great location for them, has the county ever considered having an alternate date or where we could have a fireworks display for the mainland? Right off the top of my head, I'm sure there's numerous places, but we have, I think proximity to the water is important for the fire and safety hazard. We have a park in Lower Currituck. That parking would not be an issue. People could bring boats earlier in the day, still park and still get out if they wanted to look at it over the water, or they could just come. And maybe there's some other areas. I do understand, because I have been 2 years over there, I do understand the logistical problem and effort in trying to go from the mainland over there. I throw this out. I don't know under what proper venue. Would that be something that your department would look into and maybe brainstorm it and come back? But the people over here on the mainland certainly would like to also enjoy and partake of the 4th of July fireworks. It's just an idea. I toss it out there for whatever follow-up this board deems, and or logistically how we can put it together.
Have dueling fireworks, same time. Seriously.
Oh.
The
Don't do
concept
that
of a
to
mainland
me.
fire, previous boards have had that conversation. The staff starts working on the July 4th event probably in January or February of the year. So the location is in the purview of the Board of Commissioners. So if you would like to entertain or consider, I think the last time the Board of Commissioners talked about it, they entertained maybe an alternating Outer Banks, mainland kind of a concept. The board didn't progress and didn't endorse that. But if this board would like to see or consider a mainland venue, we certainly can do that. It's your direction of where we go. But it is a conversation we would need to have now, because again, we start in a couple months. We will actually start putting the preparation together for next year's event. So by the end of the calendar year, we would just need to know if that's the direction the board would like to go in.
I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, I support the idea of having fireworks for the tourists and also for the residents of Currituck. I think that's a very good idea. The park is a good thought, or the Rule Center, or either one, depending which will hold more cars and more people.
Or the courthouse.
I think either one of them, but I look forward to hopefully both of them then. And whether it's dueling or whether it's one after the other, I think would be fantastic.
We can come to you with a recommendation and also a cost analysis for that.
I would toss out there, I don't know about alternating, because that's in the peak of our season over there. There are an awful lot of tourists over there. It is, I think, maybe a boon to our businesses and to the tourists to come. So I don't know if we'd want necessarily to do alternating, but I do think we should consider mainland Currituck and the people here having an opportunity. It's much easier to drive here on the mainland on that weekend than it is to drive over to Corolla.
I agree with Mr. Griggs.
Well, and I would make a suggestion as possibly maybe doing something on the mainland Memorial Day weekend, and then 4th of July, and maybe alternate the holiday from one side to the other, just as an opportunity.
All righty. We'll look at that and come to you with some recommendations.
All right.
Just one last thing. I want to remind everybody in the county that we are still continuing with the summer cinema movie nights at the CCRC, so don't forget. Our next movie is July 14th. It's How to Train Your Dragon, and it starts at 6 o'clock. Not the movie, but the festivities start at 6. This is in cooperation with the 4-H Center, and there'll be educational programs for the kids. There's fishing in the pond. There's opportunities to take your kayaks out. A lot of different things to do. We have ice cream, we have pizza, and then the movie will start as soon as it gets dark enough so you can see it. So I encourage all of our families to come out for our next movie on July 14th.
I think you had a fairly good turnout for the first one.
We did. We were actually very pleased. It was a very, very hot day. It was on a Tuesday, and it was about 100 degrees. And at 6 o'clock, we had maybe about 40 people, but we think everybody was trying to stay out of the heat. So by the time we got ready for the movie for our first turnout, we had 150 families. So we were really happy about that.
Great.
And the movie was How to Train Your Dragon?
July 14th is How to Train Your Dragon. It is a great movie. It's one of my favorites.
No. I live on Nights Island. We don't get stuff like that.
On our first
How
movie,
some of the
On a
characters.
DVD.
I had another comment, but I'll just keep it to myself.
well, July 28th is Ice Age, and August the 11th is Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron.
Tamara, I have a quick question about that. Do we have vendors out there serving popcorn or food,
We
hot
do.
dogs, drinks? So
Oh yeah, there's stuff for the kids to have. There's ice cream. I believe there's popcorn. There's pizza. Mel's Diner's also out there, as is Wise Guys. We should have one of the wild horses out there this next on July 14th. The horse wasn't able to make it for our first movie night because it was so hot, but we do intend to have a horse out there for the kids to see and pet if they'd like to.
And just as a follow-up, not to beat a dead horse, but of course, if we did come up with a
Not intended.
touche, the idea of having something over here on mainland Currituck, vis-a-vis the fireworks or whatever, would also have the consequences of bringing people who would maybe otherwise not come to the mainland to discover the mainland. And you would also have vendors, and it would be another opportunity for businesses to take advantage of this, as well as to show the people that come here that there's more to Currituck County than just the Outer Banks. Just an idea.
That was part of the intention of the summer cinema movie nights, is to draw some of our tourists back over onto the mainland and also provide something for our mainland residents to do this summer.
Who knows? Might could even partner with the ferry system and take the ferry offshore and use that as the barge. Right here at the courthouse. What a better place to do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there.
You have work to do, you and staff.
Always.
Yes. So we thank you.
Thank you.
Next is consent agenda.
So moved.
Have a
Mr. Chairman.
motion for approval? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioners report. Mr. Beaumont?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Hall?
I spent the holiday over on the beach side in Corova and Corolla, and I'll tell you what, folks, it was a great time sitting on the beach, watching the horses run by. The sheriffs were out there, the paramedics were out there, everybody's out there ready to do their job. It was quiet. It was fun. It was family time. And I want to thank everybody that made it that way possible, including the tourists, the locals, and all of the county staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Griggs?
Nothing further than the previous comments relative to this weekend's festivities.
Mr. Idlet?
I'd just like to echo what Mr. Hall said. My family and I also spent the weekend over at Corova, and it was a very delightful weekend. I don't spend as much time on the beach as I used to, but I can assure you my wife and son-in-law and grandkids certainly did. And by all indications, it was a good time by all. Traffic was less than I have seen it in a long time. People were well behaved. Sheriff's Department was out, done an excellent job. They were behind the dunes some. I want to commend them for what I've seen with them. They certainly were doing a wonderful job, and certainly like to say that, like you say, the paramedics, fire department, everybody. It was just a good time. So just wanted to echo what Mike said.
Mr. Payment?
just remember your fire departments out there. They do need volunteers. They're always looking for that. So if you get the opportunity, please put your time in if you can. And I just want to make another. I've been thinking about this a lot too. I just want to make another comment on. We see changes all the time with businesses in your lives. Changes sometimes are good, bad. You can accept them, you don't. But change is always inevitable out there. It doesn't always mean it's a good thing. Sometimes changes work out great, sometimes they don't. But one thing nice about changes is if it doesn't work, and in my business, you can always change it again. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gilbert?
Couple kudos on my schedule tonight. Commissioner Payman and I attended the Community Dental Clinic soft opening and blessing in Grandy, and Dr. Ed has done a tremendous job of opening a free dental clinic. He's moved into an office now. It is exceptional. They did receive grants to get the business open and operating, but there's always room for volunteers. But it's just a great opportunity for our community because it is a free dental clinic. So I encourage you to go by there and just check out the clinic, shake his hand, give him some kudos because he has worked very, very hard to open the community dental clinic in Grandy. The other opportunity that Commissioner Hall and I had, we went to Camp Arrowhead, which is a YMCA day camp in Suffolk, so that we could kind of look at how they are doing a day camp and a park that they have developed. And some of the other commissioners have been out there previously, but this was an opportunity, and also Sandra Hill and also Peter Bishop was there that day visiting. But I think it's a great opportunity to kind of lead and partner with the YMCA to get a Moyock a park in Moyock. We've talked about it, and Commissioner Miller years ago that was one of the number one things on his agenda is to get a park in Moyock. So just to add to that, Commissioner Hall and I had a great opportunity to see an exceptional park, and I think it's doable. We're looking at some property, and from the small area plan, this is one of the action items that we are working on. So I just want the folks and the citizens to know that you haven't gone unheard, and that we are making strides to make that happen.
Anything else? I just want to read a brief excerpt from a speech that Abraham Lincoln made in 1863. And everybody knows Abraham Lincoln was one of our most well thought of presidents. And I just want to read this. 1863, Abraham Lincoln. We have been the recipients of the choicest bounties of heaven. We have been preserved these many years in peace and prosperity. We have grown in numbers, wealth, and power as no other nation has ever grown. But we have forgotten God. We have forgotten the gracious hand which preserved us in peace and multiplied and enriched and strengthened us. And we have vainly imagined, in the deceitfulness of our hearts, that all these blessings were produced by some superior wisdom and virtue of our own. Intoxicated with unbroken success, we have become too self-sufficient to feel the necessity of redeeming and preserving grace, too proud to pray to the God that made us. Mr. Scanlon, you have anything?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Oh, and there is one. We were able to make a trip to Raleigh last week for the governor's Connect NC bond package, which has money for roads, has money to pave some unpaved roads, it has money for community colleges, has money for the state parks, will not require a tax increase in North Carolina. And we had an opportunity to meet with some elected representatives on behalf of Currituck County, and we feel like we had a pretty good day with those people. And I know there's, in the Senate, there's a tax redistribution bill that will tremendously harm Currituck if it's passed, but we've received some assurances that the House is not going to have any parts of it, and the governor has told us he would not sign the bill if it's anything in it with that. And so it's very important that you continue to contact Senator Bill Cook and let him know that we do not support that portion of the Senate budget that was passed. And also, if you're inclined to support the governor's Connect North Carolina, you need to call and ask him. There's some debate as to whether the Senate is even going to allow the citizens of North Carolina to vote on it. One of the big deals for northeastern North Carolina is having Highway 17 brought up to interstate standards, which will be an economic boon to northeastern North Carolina, Currituck included. It'll open the port up of Virginia for goods and services to come into northeastern North Carolina. That means economic opportunities and jobs. But it also, when those container ships are empty, it'll open up an avenue where North Carolina goods and products, namely agricultural products, can go and fill those containers up and go off to foreign countries. So that is a big part of that bond project that we really need to support, and we need that interstate designation for Highway 17. It would be designated Interstate 44.
And just real quick, I think that, and the chairman pointed it out, the boon not only to northeastern North Carolina is great, but also to our farmers. It would open up markets, and it would be a win-win. It would be a win-win, I think, not only for the farmers of the state, but also for northeastern North Carolina to promote. I mean, folks, there's less and less farmers out there, and coming from a family of farmers, that's what feeds us. So I think this is laudable. I think it's something that we should support, and I think it will have an indirect and direct benefit for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is public comment. I had no one signed up. Is there anyone wishes to speak that did not sign up? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and give me your name and your address. And Mr. McCree will honor the time.
Okay. My name is Doris Floor, and I live at 430 Currituck Highway, Moyock, North Carolina. First off, I want to commend Mr. Griggs for his comment when he made it about having something on the mainland and fireworks. And I was sitting there thinking, and I thought, you know what the cutest thing would be now, because communication can be done between each side of the water, have a competition of the fireworks, which could, which side is going to be the best. We do need something over here. Frank and I usually like to go, and we have to go down and sit on the side of a road down here somewhere. And several times we've gotten, and it's pretty hot when you sit in your car like that, but that's okay. But I think it would be really cute, and it would help promote this side and that side. And it would bring them together as a team. Now, if you have one here and you have one there, to me, you have lost the total meaning of the 4th of July. Next thing I'd like to talk to you about is that the Meals on Wheels. We have lost some people. Some people are now have become people that needed to have the food, I'm presuming. We do need to have citizens of our county, which we're very fortunate to have. I get the calendar every month, and I see that, it's pretty well filled. But what we try to strive for is to hopefully have enough people that when somebody has to be off or take a vacation or they got sick that morning, that you have somebody that you can count on. And Frank and I have been very fortunate. We're retired and we don't do nothing. So we've been fortunate that we can haul off and take off. I've been called as close as 1 o'clock, and after the new meal should already be there, to haul off and take off and go give these people. Frank says somebody's got to feed them, so we might as well do it. And we've enjoyed it, but we would love to have more people that would come out and just give 1 day a month, 1 hour a month, maybe an hour and a half out of your time. That's all it takes. And what you get in return is more benefit than the food you give those people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doris, and we appreciate what you and others do in the community. And I guess that information could be gotten from the senior citizen director.
Yes, sir.
If anyone out there is interested in helping, they certainly would appreciate your help. Is there anyone else?
By the way,
Yes, ma'am.
excuse me. You can call the senior center, 232-3205.
232.
232, what? I forgot it, just went out of here. 3205.
Okay, 232-3205.
Right.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
thank you. That's all we have signed up. I'm going to close the public comment. We need a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion?
I'll second that.
Second? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.